We are. We've got the Russians sitting on top of us. That's precisely what what this means the one that escapes the West a decade or so ago. This whole thing like living in properties where it's on fire. West Germans were based upside yeah, so that's a good I think things like family support and things like that in the GDP.
The sense of community was just childcare.
Yes.
I read with my nose anyway.
Anyway, it's called Berlin Wall. It is a German series. It's in German with subtitles.
I just read a very good book about a village in the Third Reich. A place called Oberstdorf, which is right down on the border.
Right.
Swiss. It just traces the history to the 1920s. About how the Nazis. We love them.
Are you in the live bit?
I am, I'm going through all of them.
Did you want any coffee?
It's supposed to be in January. I'm going to find out.
This
Good. That sounds first rate. Okay, I hope you confirm it with Richard. Perhaps tomorrow. We're here because all the kids are with in-laws this year. It's just the two of them. Actually, I was checking it. I went through the rules. I went through the rules coming back. I actually had.
Okay, good evening members. Welcome to this extraordinary meeting of the full council on the 15th of December. Can I first of all just check, are there any apologies?
I've got apologies from Councillor Marie, who has a work commitment, and Councillor Green, who has a personal commitment.
Thank you very much. Tonight's agenda is alarmingly slim, so I'm hoping that will be reflective of the time it takes to get through business, but we'll see. I just have a couple of things I want to mention before we get into the main part of the meeting. So this evening's meeting is an extraordinary meeting. We agreed as a council back in February the calendar for this year. It didn't include a meeting in December, but as we are all aware, there's been a number of staffing matters, and that has significantly contributed to this evening's meeting.
Oh yes, thank you. I was just wondering if we were going to have a minute's silence for we've lost one of our colleagues.
Have we? Okay.
Yeah, indeed. Just to inform anybody that new Councillor Jeremy Watts, who was mayor a few years before Jeff, I believe, has passed away. 2013. Or was it 2013? So, but
Okay,
he's passed away. I wonder if we
yes,
could
we
just
will
have a
do that.
minute's silence.
We'll do that.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
we'll do that in a couple of minutes. Okay, so I think it's really important. Sorry, where I was. It's really important that to decisions around HR are brought to the full council. I think there's been some examples in the past when that hasn't always happened. So I won't really apologise for tonight's meeting. It's essential that all councillors have the opportunity to contribute to appointments and similar matters relating to HR. Now, the second thing I wanted to mention, members might be aware of an incident that took place in Swale Borough Council last week at Swale House. Members there were in a normal council meeting, but it was subjected to an unacceptable level of abuse and intimidation from a group of people in the public gallery. Damage was also caused to the building where the meeting took place. The key thing is really important that debates, particularly at parish council level, which involves volunteers, are allowed to happen in a safe and respectful environment. And that's the councillors, staff, and also members of the public as well. Many mayors and leaders across Kent are releasing a statement, it might have already happened today, on the behaviours at that meeting. It's a non-political statement, but it's reinforcing the fact that we expect to be treated in the same way we would treat others as well. I've put my name to that statement and it will be available publicly probably already this evening. But I've also had messages from some of those present at the meeting in Swale, and they've indicated the level of security at the meeting was poor. And taking account of that, I've spoken to the town clerk this morning, and I've asked that if she and the property manager can review a number of things. One is the security and the procedures in terms of our meetings. Should there be an incident at any point in the future, that we have clear understanding of how we should behave in that circumstance. I've also asked if you could review the measures in place for those who work in the building to ensure they're not put at risk at any time undertaking their normal duties. And finally, I've asked for the security measures for the museum, which obviously includes artefacts as well, is similarly also reviewed. And I've requested a report to the respective finance committees is made by February. Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Benson.
Thank you. Just to say briefly that I do know Councillor Hannah Perkin, who was speaking at the time, and she has confirmed the level of disruption, including the throwing of eggs and so on. And I thoroughly welcome what you've just said, and I support it wholeheartedly.
Thank you very much. Okay, now if we could observe a minute of silence as requested by Councillor Carter.
Stand.
Yeah, good idea. Thank you, members. Take a seat.
I will notify anybody when I get to hear about the funeral arrangements if anybody wants to attend. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the main agenda. So, item 2, declarations of interest. That's to receive any declarations of disclosable pecuniary interest from councillors in respect of business to be transacted on the agenda tonight. Are there any? You're keying yourself up, Councillor. Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item 3, and that's public participation. This is a 20-minute session that we put aside for members of the public to make representations at the meeting in respect of the business on the agenda and other matters if time permits. Do we have any requests?
Got one from Mr.
second at the top because I'll show my voice later. Good evening. I watched the HR committee meeting where the role of the museum manager was discussed, and I noted concerns raised about the status of the Guildhall archives. I share those concerns. Therefore, I was confused as to why the archives are not explicitly mentioned within the proposed job description, and fear that omitting responsibility for the archives may compromise delivery of that function. We heard in the HR meeting that the task of moving and cataloguing the archives, originally scheduled to take up to 18 months, had already taken 3 years and is likely to require a further 2 years for completion, despite it having been determined to be a matter of urgency in March 2022 when the project was authorised. As several councillors here today may not have been following council proceedings at that time, I'd like to share a few quotes from the relevant documents as follows. Reference 080322 notes the resolution to move the Guildhall archives to the Undercroft in response to an urgent requirement to rehouse the archives to a more suitable, secure environment. The report from the archivist states, at present time, the archival documents kept at the Guildhall are housed in the attics where they are subjected to drastic changes in temperature and humidity throughout the year. There have also been instances of pigeons gaining access and vermin being found in the attic. Water ingress from the roof is always a concern, as is fire. Being housed in 4 rooms makes supervision difficult, and the access via winding stairs and uneven flooring makes it a considerable health and safety risk to staff, volunteers and visitors. The vast majority of the Sandwich archives are kept at the Kent archives. However, the well-being of the remaining documents has to be of uppermost importance, and if they cannot be housed appropriately, then they should be removed to the archives in Maidstone. This situation has been allowed to exist for far too long. It is of great importance that the Council takes immediate action to rescue the documents in its care from these woeful conditions. To safeguard and preserve the archives, the documents must be either moved into more suitable accommodation within the Guildhall or transferred to the Kent archive. There followed a discussion on the limitations of the hub and a request to relocate the archives to the Undercroft. The report goes on to say, once the documents are moved, the work of examining each document, assessing any conservation needs, and then cataloguing onto the already purchased archival standard software modes can be undertaken. It is anticipated that the relocation and cataloguing will take up to 18 months, during which time the archive will be closed to the public unless a document was urgently required. Once the archive is running smoothly, it's anticipated that exhibitions can be staged showing off the gems of the collection. When we can show that we are acting to an international standard, it will be possible to bring back some of the treasures held on the town's behalf at Maidstone for viewing by residents and visitors alike. The archive exhibitions would be a suitable addition to the visitor offering made by the museum. The following month, April 22, resolutions were unanimously agreed, reference 090422, to 1. Work on relocating the Guildhall archives to be commissioned as quickly as possible per the quotations received. 2. To obtain quotes from removals companies to move the heavy cabinets. 3. For the caretakers to assist with the relocation. And 4. For the appointment of 2 volunteer archivists as joint honorary archivists, unpaid roles, with permission for them to proceed with the relocation. These resolutions were passed on the basis of a report that listed the necessary quotes and highlighted that the archive is to meet national archival standards, that roller wrapping is the international standard for archives worldwide, and that once the building works have been completed and the racking installed, the archive can be moved from the attic. The honorary archivists will be responsible for the transfer of the archives. They will also, at a later date, be responsible for the recruitment and training of a team of archive volunteers to inspect and catalogue each item, and they would liaise with the museum curator with regard to exhibitions, and when the archives are reopened, they will undertake the day-to-day management. And so the works progressed on the above basis, setting high expectations, but we have received little in terms of progress reports against stated objectives, and the archives have already been closed to the public for considerably longer than was agreed by resolution. Costings show over £50,000 plus the year-on-year lost income from the Undercroft has already been invested in the project. I feel it would be irresponsible to allow the relocation of the Guildhall archives to continue to swim under the radar, and would like to see a clear project plan with explicit responsibilities stated in the job description. Surely the archives are not of less importance than the museum shop, which is noted in the job description. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Christina. Do you want to leave your notes or do you want to keep them?
All a bit scruffy. I'll
Yeah.
send a tidy copy. I've
That's
also got lots of the original documents which aren't on the website, which might be useful to people who weren't around at
If
the
you've got
time.
PDFs, that'd be great, I can put them up.
Well, screenshots. I had to take screenshots of them.
Okay, thank you. And then we do have a couple of people who are actually actively involved in the archiving, including Councillor Ripley. If you do want to say something, that's fine.
Yeah, well, I would like to suggest that anybody who is unsatisfied with the progress being made likes to volunteer themselves, because we could always do more volunteers.
Yeah, and I've just got to say, I don't remember 18 months, because I was under the assumption that it could be at least 3 years, and I think it's progressing well, and she's done all this accreditation work as well.
Yeah.
So she's been a very busy museum manager and archiving. I'm very sad to see her go. But hopefully when she goes to Mason, she'll find our seal of our Magna Carta,
She may do.
which we're missing. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And the key things from my perspective will...
Could I
Yeah,
say
sorry.
something? Yes. I did, I was going to, and I will make a comment about the job description for the museum manager post, because it did seem to me when I read through them that the archives had somehow got lost in that job description. I don't think the word is used once. So when it comes to
You
discussion
can
of
discuss that later.
that, I will make that point
Yep, that's
based on
very much. So what I would say is Millie has done a sterling job. She's given an estimate of when the archiving will finish, and I would rely on that estimate. She's well aware of all the concerns and risks that are attached to where they're currently homed, and archiving certainly would be covered in any interview that we have, hopefully with some applicants, but we'll finish that there. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to agenda item 4. This is HR support provision, and members are asked this evening to receive a report on choosing an HR provider from the 1st of February of next year. Just to give some background, this item was discussed at F&GP committee meeting in November, and their recommendation is included in the report. If I could ask the town clerk to provide a brief summary of the key points, and then we could hopefully have a discussion and go to a vote on this.
I think I did some research on the contract. We have a contract with Peninsula, previous, which is currently running, but the previous town clerk was very not satisfied with it. So she handed in notice. You have to give 6 months notice. She handed in that notice 6 months ago, so that we are free from the contract on the 31st of January. I therefore went out to 3 providers to get a new quote, including these people, because they are one of the big people. So Peninsula, a company called Worknest, and a small local firm went to the HR committee, which knocked out the small firm as being sort of not robust enough. If somebody was sick, or they had HR issues, we would be left open. Took it down to 2. I sort of went back. To be honest, I think the report, I'm sure you've all read it, summarises most of the pros and the cons. My impression, I've never used either of these companies, was that Worknest appeared a slightly better service, but Peninsula was slightly cheaper. At the end of the day, it's really up to, I've never used either, so if anyone's got any other knowledge of these providers that could feed into the discussion, I think my key point at this is that we do need to really make this decision tonight, because the contract, I need to get whatever we choose to do in place, so that by the 31st of January we're up and running with whichever provider the council would like to go with.
Thank you very much. So from a financial perspective, the difference, having done a quick calculation, is that an extra £768 per annum would be paid if we choose Worknest over Peninsula. But it isn't just about money, because we've got a number of comments in here in terms of quality as well that have been captured from elsewhere. So can I open it up for any comments? Councillor Lars.
Yeah, I think the 3 issues for me is clearly the former town clerk was unhappy with Peninsula.
we had some experience of using them. I mean, the cost, as you say, Mr. Mayor, is 700 and something extra per year if we went with Work Nest. But then there are two issues where they do provide extras for no additional cost, which is the personalised advice and the health and safety training. So I think for that increase, it's worth going with Work Nest.
Noted. Councillor Pemberton.
Yes, thank you. I support the comments from Councillor Wiles. I think quality of HR management is really important to us. The feedback from Peninsula wasn't great, and so I would support the recommendation that came forward that we go for Work Nest.
Thank you. Do we have any contrary comments, Councillor?
I wasn't going to say anything contrary, but I mean,
It would help to get a bit of mix.
I'll say something contrary if you want. No, it struck me that whilst the public sector in overall terms is not that different, and someone like the existing supplier will have expertise in it, Work Nest are specific to local authorities, which means that they do have immediate access and an immediate affinity for it. And that can be very useful. The other thing is that they seem to have the ability to concentrate on one or two support staff who we could have continuity, because there's nothing worse than phoning up one day and the next day you get a completely different person. The concern, I've got two concerns. One is both will provide an HR portal, but actually we don't use the existing HR portal, and I'm not quite sure, are we really planning to use the HR portal for either of these? And is this something we really want to do?
I really do want to do it because at the moment the employee handbook it exists, but it's not being given out. So what these nowadays, all the employee policies are kept on the portal. Workness, one of the reasons I liked Workness is because they update policies immediately, whereas Peninsula do an annual review. And with all the employment law legislation which is coming through Parliament at the moment, having that quick turnaround, especially when we've got a lot of new staff coming on, I think is definitely pro point.
The only other concern I had is the notice period seems a bit excessive. 3 years.
All these contracts are for 3 years.
The notice period.
The
We're talking
notice
about
period.
notice period.
It says 36-month notice period.
Oh, sorry, no, it's not 36-month contract.
Oh,
Sorry.
well, okay, that's fair enough. But right, when it said under the 60 months support agreement.
Sorry, that's my typo.
Oh, okay, well, in that case, I'm a little bit more content.
No, I'm not sure that is the case, because we did discuss it as you
We did.
had been there in the HR committee. I think we did plump for the 60-month contract, because that was a longer one, but it came at a lower cost. But it does say a 36-month service break clause.
Oh, no, we can break after 36 months, basically.
Oh, I see. So we
Yes,
we're
not
not committed
notice.
before 5 years.
Yeah.
If we don't like them after 3 years,
we
we'd
can
be
break.
able to have
Can
a
walk
break.
away.
Oh, that's even better.
Councillor Carter.
Oh, yes, thank you. What I want to say, it's not contrary, but it's just stating some facts. And Peninsula came into this council when we needed them the most. And we had massive problem with a town clerk, not the previous one, but one before that. And Councillor Franklin and I had to get some professional help to assist with a situation that was occurring in this council 3 years ago. At that time, we did a similar search, and the search that we undertook, the same as the current town clerk's undertaken, brought up Peninsula, and they were the top of 3 providers that were put forward. And at that time, they were the best that we had. Also at that time, I don't know if Councillor Franklin remembers, but the support we had from them was fantastic. And in fact, they assigned a case officer to us who saw us through the whole disciplinary process and assisted us to get to the position where we needed to be. and we got full legal support as well. So that's that. The other matter that I needed to raise was I've spoken to the previous town clerk and this current town clerk now, and the previous town clerk didn't like using Peninsula because she had a friend who was also in the local council HR business, and so the most recent town clerk that we had preferred to use somebody that she had worked with previously. So although we were paying for Peninsula, she went to another provider. That's all I'll say about that. But also, the facts are in here. It's not been used. So Peninsula, I can tell you, in the last 2 years whilst I was mayor, has not been used. The services have not been used. Jill didn't use them at all. And the other evening, asked our current town clerk about our HR provider in the context of recruitment, and the current town clerk said, "Oh, I don't know who they are." So Peninsula, although we've been paying for them all this time, we haven't been using them. And we had this portal called Bright HR, and that hasn't been used either. So I wouldn't want to put any blame factor onto our current town clerk, because she has just come into her role and she's just finding her feet. But can I just say, the town clerk that just left did not use Bright HR, which we were paying for, and did not use the Peninsula company that we were also paying for. So let's not blacklist them, because when we needed them most, they were there for us. Thank you.
So first of all, town clerk would like to come back.
At that point, which was 6-8 weeks ago, you're right, I didn't, but I do now. I have looked into it quite carefully. I have spoken to Peninsula a couple of times. I have looked at the Bright HR setup. If that is the council's choice, then I can definitely set it up and make it work. It exists. It looks like it will do what we need it to do, if that's the council's choice.
Indeed. Thank you very much for that. Thank you for that update, Sophie.
So I think we've got enough information in front of us hopefully to form an opinion, and because it is an either or, I first of all like to propose that we note the report that we received. Hopefully somebody will second that. Councillor Black, good vote that we note the report, and then if we can go to a vote on the choices. So we have two, thank you, and that's unanimous. Yep, thank you. So we've got a choice of two. If we go in alphabetical order, could I ask those councillors that would want to invest the next contract, because this contract's coming to an end, with Peninsula, could you show your green cards for doing so?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, for Peninsula.
For Peninsula.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have three. Okay. Could I take a vote on Worknest? If people to show their cards as well. And that's unanimous. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 greens and 1 abstention. 10 greens and 1 abstention. So the choice, town clerk, is Worknest. Thank you very much. Okay. Moving on to agenda item 5, and this is recruitment of the museum manager. So this item relates to the recruitment of a new museum manager. Members are invited to note the report and to consider approving 3 separate items. Members are going to be asked to approve a job description for a museum manager. Secondly, to approve a recruitment to be based on the offer of a temporary contract of 6 to 12 months with a intention to that being made permanent if we choose to do so. And then finally, asked to approve the routes that will be used for advertising the vacancy. So we could do those in order and separately. So first of all, could I take any comments on the job description itself? And this has been through the HR committee as well. And sorry, you will be first, Councillor. What I would want to say is the current museum manager has reviewed it twice. So it does reflect her view in terms of what is sensible from her perspective in terms of advertising it. Councillor Anderson.
Yes, yes, thank you for that comment. my encounter with the museum collection is entirely related to its archives, and the archives in the collection are very important. Certainly the ones that I have used in the past and are unique, and I think I'm also of the view, but I might be confirmed in this by another councillor, that when it comes to education and training for museum management and for archives management, they are two separate branches of the same sort of area concerned with heritage. I do think it's very important that the word archives is included in the role, because in the job description, because as I understand it, Sandwich holds very important archives, some of which of course has gone to Maidstone, but we really do need a skilled archive manager as well as a skilled museum manager, and they're not impossible to find. Something else I was going to say that I've now forgotten. So I would be delighted if the word archives, oh yes, the other thing that I was going to say is that my use of archives, I've always been extremely impressed by the way in which archivists who run archives are able and willing to support researchers. And that is a very important part of the service. So if we could get somebody who can do both those things, we would be lucky, but I do think we should be asking for it.
Thank you very much. Councillor Wiles?
Yeah, I agree with what Councillor Wiles said about the archive, but my memory of this is that at least a year ago it was agreed that everything in the archive, the collection, the museum should be defined as the collection.
Yes.
So take Britain for example, perhaps 1% of its collection is on show at any one time, but that doesn't mean it's not part of the collection. So that's covered in the job description. Second paragraph, it says Sandwich Guildhall Museum holds its collection for the local community, and that's everything in this building and in the attic and in the museum.
Can I come back? Yes, I mean, I take that point and I understand exactly where it comes from and the history, and it was somewhat controversial at the time because it doesn't include the word archives, and this is a job description that is going out there, as it were. And it needs to be understood by the readers that actually the archives are a very important part of this collection, and therefore it should be mentioned.
So I think it is noted when we come to the end of this part of discussion, you can certainly agree or not in terms of including that. Councillor Black.
That's Councillor Pennington.
Councillor Pennington, sorry.
Yes, I don't know much about the detail on the background, but what I did want to say is when I approached Millie for help with research on a certain period, which was back in the 18th century, not when I approached her, but the research, I was disappointed to learn that the archives were in fact in Maidstone and not in here, and if it's possible to have as much as possible of the archives in Sandwich, that would be a huge help. And I support what's been said about the importance of the archives in terms of the heritage of the town.
Thank you very much. Councillor Black.
Well, what do you want, folks? This is an entry-level job. They said we haven't required the person to be a member of the Museums Association. I strongly disagree with that, by the way, but that's what will happen. If you want a museum and archivist, that's a different job. And we're paying basic level salaries. I think you're being very optimistic, to put it mildly, to think that you're going to get an archivist as well. The job is about managing the collection and the stores for the collection. And if that doesn't include archives, I don't know what does. having worked in a museum, believe me, it's a generic thing. If you want a primary focus on an archive, you're looking for an archivist, and then you won't have so much in the museum. You've got to get this balance right. If you really want to put the word archive in, but to major upon it, I think we're going to fall between a number of stools.
So, sorry, can I just make a proposal? Because I can see the different things. What I would suggest is we can get very tangled up in what I think is a small but important point. What I would suggest is if we refer to the collection in the job description, we should also mention that that also relates to archives.
Exactly, we just
I'd
say
be
the
happy to
collection
propose that.
including its archive.
Yes.
We have a museum and archive committee.
Yeah.
So I will, yeah, exactly. So I propose that somebody's happy to second that. If we could vote on that, then we can move on to.
I haven't had an opportunity
on
to
this
speak
particular subject.
on this particular
Okay,
subject
far
yet,
away.
because I wanted to support Councillor Anderson, because it's quite unusual. Is the archivist before that we had before Millie brought the archives to the condition that they are now, and today we buried one of our most esteemed archivists, who was actually a volunteer, but they got this place going. And at that funeral, there were 3 doctors there who had all said, what is the state of the archives? And I said, well, they've been sort of like gone sideways currently, because unfortunately we're in this state of re-employment. And they said that's a great shame, because the archives were the crown jewels of the whole of the Guildhall.
So I will
And
come back
we
on
need,
that.
I think we need to, if you look at this job description, you've got 3 bullet points for the collection, and you've got 12 bullet points for things, for all these other management role type things. I think we're moving this away from where it should be, the job. So I don't think I could vote for this job
That's fine, we'll
description.
come to a vote in a minute. What I will say, as I said at the start, the
Watering it down.
job description was drafted by the museum manager, was then reviewed by the HR committee, then was shared with the museum manager, and it was refreshed. So this represents the job that the current museum manager does. It's a broad role. There's a element of management, there's an element of archiving, there's an element of collection management. All of that's captured within the job description. What I would say is, this is not about sidestepping because of recruitment. The issue with the archiving is years old. So I don't want to leave this meeting thinking that the fact that the museum manager has decided to go to a better opportunity has caused an issue with regard to archives. That is not the case. I hope that's supported by Councillor Ripley. You've been involved in the archiving itself.
Yes, I have, and I find previous comments quite offensive, bearing in mind the amount of work that had to be done, engineered by Millie, and made sure that it is perfectly done to the right standard, so that we get the accreditation we do, and that was because a lot of hard work's gone into it.
And moving forward.
Yes, indeed.
A lot of the councillors are quite new, but if you go back only 5 years, this was a voluntary position. Charles Wannistraw, he did all his archives, museum, didn't pay a penny till 5 years ago. We decided to, well, I didn't, the council at the time did, to employ a paid museum manager to deal with the archives. So it's only for 5 years. And I remember when we interviewed last time, because of the salary level, it's just a stepping stone. It's been a stepping stone for Millie, and I think it's what they probably get someone that's a student, just qualified or been qualified a couple of years. I know it's important to us, but it's important to them, and also I think it's a lovely stepping stone on. But I think with this, you're going out, if you're talking about art, you're going 60,000, 80,000 pounds a year salary. So it's a stepping stone, and I hope you get a lovely, successful candidate. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Franklin. We're on only the first. Let's make sure we don't
I have
this
a
and that.
constructive proposal, I hope, and I would suggest that the sentence, Sandwich Guildhall Museum holds its collection for the local community. If we could put in to that sentence, holds its collection, both material objects and archives. between commas.
I'm happy to expand my proposal to say that. So Councillor Ripley did second that. So can we go to a vote on just that particular point now, please?
Could I just say briefly, what Councillor Franklin has said though, epitomises the whole situation, is we're never going to get the archives finished. He just said...
But we will do it.
No, if it's a stepping stone, you said it's a
That's a
stepping
career
stone.
stepping stone for
Councillor Carter,
Yeah,
we
you're
are
getting- you're-
talking,
you're
we are talking
talking.
about a job description. Let's
Yeah,
please not go down
but
a
if it's a
different
stepping
rabbit hole.
stone, the next person's
That's
going to come in
not the
and be
point.
gone
We
in
need to
2
recruit
years.
somebody, and if we argue about job descriptions, we'll never recruit anyone.
No.
So, are we happy to approve a job description with that one additional suggestion which
Both
Councillor
material
Anderson has made
objects and
specific?
art.
So, can I just check the wording? Sandwich Guildhall Museum holds its collection for local community, both material collection and archives.
No, both material collection and archive should go after the word collection. There should be a comma after the word collection. Both material objects and archives, comma, for the local community.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Could we vote on that?
Do you want that one as well?
No, if it comes up once, that's fine. Yeah, if you could vote on that, please. Councillor Ripley seconded.
Yeah, but it's not on.
And I'm voting on that. We've got one abstention. Thank you very much. Okay, the second one is we've been asked to approve a recruitment to be based on the offer of a temporary contract for 6 to 12 months with a view to that role being made permanent. I suppose the only comment I've got is that 6 to 12 months is difficult to tie down. Is it 6 months or is it 12 months?
Yeah.
So, but I'll open up for comments.
I'd like to suggest 6 months would be adequate, I would say, so that it gives somebody the opportunity to see that they can reach a certain position within a shorter period of time. 12 months could put quite a lot of people off. So I'd like to try and get as many people as possible to apply, if that's okay.
Any other comments? Why not? So, Councillor Black first.
I seem to recall we had quite a discussion about
Yep.
the length of time, and that was more because we thought we might need to get an interim person, which is why it was 6 to 12 months at first. Personally, these kind of contracts, 12 months, are not really very satisfactory from anybody. You have to make a decision, I think, about somebody, and if they're not doing the job, then part company. If they are doing the job, to keep them on, and then saying, oh, then we'll do a review, is very old-fashioned poor practice. You should be able to make a proper decision.
Exactly.
And that's why I wouldn't even wait by the time it's 6 months. I'd say, you make an offer, you have obviously the usual appraisal reviews, and you take it from there.
Yeah.
So just to refresh the conversation, Councillor Black, in the HR committee, it was deemed that if we go for a permanent recruitment, it will take longer. Is that correct, Helen Park? Was that a suggestion? And if not,
yes, there was a suggestion about the length of time. We might do something. There might be some people who might be interim, and that was one of the reasons for hedging our bets on that. I don't know.
I'll take some more comments, Councillor.
Yes, thank you. Just briefly, if you want to recruit somebody and they have to wait for 12 months before they know if they're going to be kept on, in my view, that's a deterrent. It has to be 6 months. Any responsible manager should be able to make their minds up after 6 months, probably 3 in fact, if the person is going to be reliable in the longer term, so I definitely support 6.
Thank you. Any other comments? If not, would somebody be happy to propose that we
So
advertise
happy to
on
propose
6 months
6 months.
with a view to permanency?
Indeed. Happy to propose 6 months.
Second, Councillor Moorhouse, and vote on that. That's one abstention. 2 abstentions. Okay. And the third one is members are asked to approve the routes that will be used for advertising the vacancy. All I would say, I'm not trying to lead the conversation, but when I look through the costs of those that we have to pay for are, in my view, whilst money is very important, very small. So unless somebody would like to dispute that, I'd be happy to propose that we accept all the avenues that are suggested, because the actual cost is £150.
I'll be happy to second that.
Yeah. Sorry,
I'm
sorry,
not convinced that the Arts Council website is worthwhile. The others, yes, and I've had obviously a bit of professional input from the contact of mine. All of the others absolutely first rate, but Arts Council website, that's a very, very long story, a very short story, you know.
But it is free.
It's free.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
That was my point.
Let's
yeah.
do it,
Yeah.
yeah.
If they come through that, we can all.
You could rub my nose in it, and you wouldn't enjoy that.
So,
Second the
let's can we
proposal.
vote on that. So we've got, I propose it, seconded Councillor Carter, and votes that we adopt all avenues.
Sorry, so who,
Well,
so
I was
proposed?
going to say, why don't we put it in the town council magazine?
Oh, do you want that?
Yeah,
Oh, yes.
of course, of course.
Sorry, who
Facebook.
proposed?
And Facebook and
Yeah.
website.
Proposed
I
was?
proposed it, Councillor Carter P seconded it, and it was unanimous. Thank you. The only thing that isn't included, I suppose, but I think it's really important how long we would run the recruitment scheme for. Do you have a view, Town Clerk? Because I do, as others will.
I think we should not let it hang too long. I think get it out, I think start up, I would suggest starting after. But then there's an argument, we do it now so people have got time to look over Christmas, or to do it after Christmas. I don't know.
After.
Councillor White.
May I make a suggestion is you might want to try phoning Leicester University, who after all are the people that train museum and archivists, and just get a view from them. You can speak to one of their staff and say, what's the best sort of time? Because I suspect over the Christmas and New Year period, it will be pretty dead. But you know, phone them up, and if you're really stuck, I think I still know the university secretary. If you're really stuck, I'll see if I can find Tony if he's still there.
And even if we do end up deferring it until the start of January, I think we should run it until for at least 3 weeks.
Yes, but I think a month, and then let's go.
30th of January will be the date, if we start after Christmas.
I'll phone Leicester and ask them what their view would be.
So is the proposal to take advice from Leicester, and if they don't say anything, we'll start on the 30th of December?
If they say to you that it's best not to advertise it over the Christmas period, then defer it until January, but to run it to the 30th of January.
Yeah.
If they say there's no reason why you shouldn't do it now, then do it now, and maybe you can roll back a week to the 23rd of January.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there a timetable for closure of the period for advertising, for applying, and then for selection? Has that
We will be
been
able to
set?
set the times. Do you mean in terms of advertising it?
No, I mean in terms of appointing.
Well, it really does depend on the candidates and their current
Then,
circumstances.
yeah, their notice period,
Yeah.
depend on their notice period.
My guess, Councillor Ungerson, is when I did a quick tot up in my head, is that we won't get anybody until at least the end of February.
No, but
Have
have you got
you-
dates in view for the selection committee and
So
so on?
we will do, yeah, we've got time to do that. It will be a couple of weeks after the closing date of the advert.
Yeah.
Councillor Carter.
Happy to second the proposal that's put forward.
Can we vote on that? That's green as well. Nice, thank you very much. Okay, so I note that we have Christine here with us and filming, so to avoid moving to the incompetence item as part of this meeting, I would like to propose we defer that until after we have the STBF discussion, if somebody's happy to second that.
Second.
Councillor Carter, if we vote on that. Thank you very much. So, the last item on the agenda before we come back to this meeting later is the next meeting of the Town Council, and that's on Monday, the 26th of January at 7 PM. So, that is ended. Do you want to keep the...